Senator Cruz treats our border communities like he's going on some kind of a safari. He comes down, he puts on his outdoor clothes, he tries to look tough, and he goes back to Washington and does nothing to help. In fact, he does worse than nothing. On January 6th, when a mob was storming the Capitol, he was hiding in a supply closet.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead! Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all? This is where we highlight those specific individuals who are doing their absolute best to make our country worse.
You look great. Thank you, darling. Also, we have many Azerasians in our room.
You know, the kind of people that'll be asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
Where's your manager? Can I speak to your manager?
By the way, if you have any suggestions, be sure to email me at reese@reesewaters.com, and shout out to all our new members here on the channel. Here, we are going to celebrate a cavalcade of pick-me's. Now, I have used the phrase pick-me a number of times here on this channel, and for those of you that aren't clear, a pick-me is defined in the Wiktionary as a person who acts against their own interests, typically marginalized group, in the hope of obtaining majority favor. And the thing about a pick-me, we've seen a number of pick-me's. We see black pick-me's, we see female pick-me's. It never ends well. No, it never ends well. That is where the leopard face-eating party comes from. But as a matter of fact, we'll probably be cueing the music a number of times. Go ahead and just go ahead and let me rock out with it one more time, real quick. Today's first nominee, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, as I have outlined before, there are two kinds of ops that we face right now as a country. There are the kind of ops that don't know any better. That's just how they was raised. This is MAGA and Boebert and Byron Donalds and Trump. And then there are those who absolutely know better, but saw an opportunity to get closer to power, and so they enabled the first group to run unchecked. So really, it's just a matter of time before there's a reckoning for the second group when they realize just the damage that they have done by enabling the first group. Cue the report.
A new book by Associated Press Washington bureau chief Michael Tackett reveals this, quote, Mitch McConnell said after the 2020 election that then President Donald Trump was, quote, stupid, as well as being ill-tempered, a, quote, despicable human being, and a, quote, narcissist. And he said all that. That's what Mitch McConnell lettered Donald Trump before the insurrection. More from the AP. Privately, McConnell said in his oral history that, quote, it's not just the Democrats who are counting the days until Trump left office, and that Trump's behavior only underscores the good judgment of the American people. They've had just enough of the misrepresentations, the outright lies, almost on a daily basis. And they fired him. And for a narcissist like him, McConnell continued, that's been really hard to take. And so his behavior since the election has been even worse, by far, than it was before, because he has no filter now at all. Now, before those Georgia runoffs, McConnell said Trump is, quote, stupid, as well as being ill-tempered and can't even figure out where his own best interests lie. Like we said, in a normal world, that would be a thunderclap, enough to completely derail a political campaign, a candidate leading a political party.
Nicole Wallace is exactly right here, and I can't figure out who bothers me more in this moment. Mitch McConnell feeling this way about a candidate that he would later help to get on the precipice of the White House, or the fact that Donald Trump can so clearly behave in such an objectionable way and yet still be on the precipice of the White House? Because Mitch McConnell ain't said nothing that I ain't seen.
So when we say that's not what it is anymore, this is an example that proves that out. An admission that you're on the side of the violent extremists who attacked the U.S. Capitol, and the #1 Republican in the Senate calling you, quote, stupid, quote, despicable, and, quote, a narcissist. All that happened in the last 24 hours. Should be devastating, again, to a politician, someone seeking to run the government. But we live in a world where the GOP has splintered in two, rather violently. On one side, a robust authoritarian movement that demands you toss your views aside or become an outcast. People like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger. Case in point, Mitch McConnell now supports the man he described in his own words in something called a personal oral history as stupid and despicable. His words on a tape recording he made and shared with a reporter.
Ooh, that's going to be awkward. That is going to be awkward. Mitch McConnell had an opportunity to stand on business, or as I would say, do his civic duty, actually abide by the oath that he took when he entered into office. He had an opportunity to do that. He has chosen repeatedly not to do that. And now it has become public how you really feel about the man whose feet you have chosen to kiss. Welcome to the world of a pick-me.
And on the other side, a small but growing group of disaffected Republicans and independent-minded voters. That split, particularly when it applies to January 6th and Donald Trump's disdain for the hallmarks of democracy, has given Vice President Kamala Harris an unprecedented opportunity and opening that she is seizing on with Republicans and independents.
Oh, Mitch McConnell, this ain't gonna go good. This ain't gonna go good. This ain't gonna go good at all. Cause I tell you this, it's gonna put some of the other things that has happened in a whole new light. Cause are we talking about this Mitch McConnell?
I think the demonization of Ukraine began by Tucker Carlson, who in my opinion ended up where he should have been all along, which is interviewing Vladimir Putin. And so he had an enormous audience, which convinced a lot of rank and file Republicans that maybe this was a mistake. I think the former president had sort of mixed views on it. We all felt that the border was a complete disaster, myself included. And Chad, you remember covering the phases we went through. First, there was an effort to make law, which requires you to deal with Democrats. And then a number of our members thought it wasn't good enough. And then our nominee for president didn't seem to want us to do anything at all.
Not this Mitch McConnell.
Former President Trump has proposed a 200% tariff on John Deere tractors if they're made in Mexico. Are you concerned that some of these tariff proposals by the GOP nominee could drive up costs for consumers or hurt urban exporters in Kentucky, for example?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of tariffs. They raise the prices for American consumers. I'm more of a free trade kind of Republican that remembers how many jobs are created by the exports.
Not this Mitch McConnell.
Do you feel your party is responsible for those setbacks?
Many of them, yeah. We took too long. This issue was like a family reunion, if you will, with a lot of different points of view being expressed around the table. All the Democrats were for Ukraine. There's no question that the debate was in our family, on our side, and there was a lot of skepticism for a long time.
This the same Mitch McConnell who blocked Merrick Garland for 8 months, claiming it was too close to the election, but then rammed through Amy Coney Barrett 8 days before the election, after millions of people had already voted.
I think like each of you, I tend to judge people by what they do and not by what they say. And I think Mitch McConnell, like many Republicans, who says all these negative things, he said that Donald Trump was unfit for office, but simultaneously, while Mitch McConnell was majority leader, helped facilitate Donald Trump in all his power moves and everything he did, including Mitch McConnell stood up and would not impeach Donald Trump. And I don't know how you don't impeach somebody that you think is unfit for office in the course of this. And so, I mean, they have hated each other. Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, they don't like each other. But in the end, I actually, in many ways, am more disturbed by people like Mitch McConnell and others like him.
And it's at this point, I would like to make one very specific point. Rarely is it so clear that we have a politician acting in his own best interests at the expense of the country. What we know is that Mitch McConnell has enabled a man he describes as despicable to get closer to the nuclear codes and having immunity according to the Supreme Court. He has enabled that to happen because it was better for him personally. And it's all out there. Like, we kind of think that this is kind of what they're doing. I've alluded to this is what they're doing. It seems pretty clear this is what they're doing. Rarely do we have it in his own words, him telling you this is what he's doing. And now he finds himself in a situation where you have no choice. You're not gonna stand on those words. Mitch McConnell, you gonna stand on those words and endorse Kamala now? Huh? Is that what you're gonna do? You got no choice but to go back home and beg for your supper from the man that we all know you described as despicable. That is how pick-meism goes, because you knew better. You knew better, and you let them gain more and more power and influence every single day that you sat there and said nothing and greased the skids and let it happen. Now look at you. Our second nominee, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Speaking of, now look at you, somebody that was willing to overlook Donald Trump alluding to his dad being involved with a presidential assassination. The man who threw his own wife under the bus when Donald Trump went rogue on social media. You made all of that be okay because it was better for you personally, and you thought it would help you retain power. Now look at you.
I have to say, you can't be for the mob on January 6th and for the officers. You can't, and it's not funny, because you're a threat to democracy. Sure. I was on the House floor when we went through the votes. I remember when you objected to the results in Arizona. After he'd gone around the country lying about the election, after he'd been the architect of the attempt to overthrow that election, when that mob came, Senator Cruz was hiding in a supply closet. And that's okay. I don't want him to get hurt by the mob. I really don't. This election is his accountability. You cannot just be patriotic when your side wins. If for the first time in 250 years, this project of ours, this shared American project, that we did not have a peaceful transfer of power, the folks responsible have to be held accountable.
Y'all want to see a dead body?
This is a pattern. He talks tough, but he never shows up. We have a phrase for this in Texas: all hat and no cattle. That's what Senator Cruz is. 6 more years of this? Come on. He's had 12 years to do it already. Give someone who actually will a chance.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
Stop! He's already dead.
But time and again, Senator Cruz treats our border communities like he's going on some kind of a safari. He comes down, he puts on his outdoor clothes, he tries to look tough, and he goes back to Washington and does nothing to help. In fact, he does worse than nothing. When the toughest border security bill in a generation came up in the United States Senate, $20 billion for border security, he said, we don't need a border bill. That's what he said. On January 6th, when a mob was storming the Capitol, he was hiding in a supply closet. And when the toughest border security bill in a generation came up in the United States Senate, he took it down.
So Ted Cruz, you thought that enabling MAGA and pretending to be one of the boys was going to get you over? You thought they were going to circle back and support you? Is Is that what you thought? You thought that made them magically like you? I find it hilarious that literally nobody is coming to Ted Cruz's aid. Literally nobody is trying to help Ted Cruz, and it is hysterical. You made that bed yourself because once again, you knew better. You knew better, Ted Cruz, and you let these lunatics run the asylum, and now you mad that none of them are gonna help you retain your seat. That is how pick-me-ism goes. Cue the music. I never thought lovers would eat my face. I never thought. Our third pick-me nominee, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. You know, Florida gave us Byron Donalds, Matt Gaetz, Anna Paulina Luna, Marco Rubio, and Ron DeSantis. They have really skated under the radar. They absolutely have skated under the radar. They deserve to get dragged way more than they do. All right, run the report.
Investigation into Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. The House Ethics Committee has released a statement on the probe into a number of serious allegations, including sexual misconduct. Rachel Scott is on Capitol Hill with the exclusive details. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Rebecca, good morning to you. Yes, this is a rare and unusually detailed statement from the House Ethics Committee, making it clear that it's still looking into Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, and it comes as ABC News learns new exclusive details about what witnesses told the committee.
This morning, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is under investigation. The House Ethics Committee revealing that it is continuing to probe Gaetz over explosive allegations, including that he engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use, accepted improper gifts, and that he sought to obstruct government investigations of his conduct. Sources tell ABC News the committee has interviewed at least a half a dozen women who allegedly attended parties where the Florida congressman was also present, and who were paid by Gaetz' one-time close friend Joel Greenberg, who pleaded guilty to wire fraud and trafficking a minor. ABC News learning the committee has obtained Gaetz' Venmo records. Sources say one woman testified that a Venmo payment from Gaetz was for others saying they were paid to attend parties with Gaetz that featured drugs. The Republican lawmaker and close ally of Donald Trump has denied all the allegations against him. In a tweet Monday, Gaetz saying in part, "Every investigation into me ends the same way, my exoneration." But last year, the federal government informed Gaetz it was declining to bring charges, allowing the committee's probe to now resume.
The House Ethics Committee declined to comment on our new reporting. In a separate statement, the committee says that it's no longer pursuing allegations that the Florida congressman shared inappropriate videos on the House floor or misused state identification records. If investigators on the committee do find any evidence of wrongdoing, it can recommend for the full House to take action, including censure or expulsion.
Now, if you're scoring at home, Matt Gaetz orchestrated Kevin McCarthy getting booted from the speaker's chair because he wouldn't step in and save and protect him from these kinds of investigations. What that tells everybody else is that you are not somebody to be trusted. And in fact, the sooner they can get out from under you, the better, because you have become a threat to everybody. That is a pick-me lesson. The behavior that you exhibit is the behavior that we all notice. Pick-me might get you into the chair, but it might be the same pick-me behavior that gets you booted out the chair. Pick-me might have got you into the good graces, but it doesn't mean anybody actually has to respect you. And while we're on the topic of Matt Gaetz, I feel like I heard his name. Didn't I hear his name recently?
I say that we evict Kamala Harris from the White House faster than my best friend Matt Gaetz evicted Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
That is your best friend, isn't it, Bolbert? It is your best friend. So you know about what you got to do. Because that's your best friend. That's why you say it. So that's why I said you probably had something to do with him deciding to leave the house looking like that with the makeup. But also, I'm just trying to make sure, are you on the Venmo? Like, what's going on with that? Also, it makes perfect sense why you say that your backyard is like an episode of Narcos, because you got Matt Gaetz, not to mention your own son and ex-husband, and you. Oh, no wonder it looked like Narcos. Let that be a lesson to all pick-me's. You showed everybody who you are, and now nobody will trust you. Cue the music.
I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face.
One last thing I would like to bring up before I sign off. One of the things that I heard when Kamala Harris was on Fox News talking to Bret Baier, she alluded to Donald Trump and his threats towards protesters.
Bret, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy.
Now I'm just wondering how that landed with the uncommitted. I'm wondering how that landed with the uncommitted. Not necessarily the fact that she alluded to it, but what she alluded to, the fact that he has talked about the enemy within and using the military. I
think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
I'm just wondering how that's landing with the uncommitted. And while we're on the topic of uncommitted as well as pick-me's, noted Green Party candidate Jill Stein picked up a very significant endorsement this week.
This is David Duke. I'm going to shock a number of people, and some of my own supporters maybe. I'm going to do what's good for white people, Europeans. I endorse for President of the United States, Green Party candidate, Dr. Jill Stein.
Well, congratulations, Jill Stein. They picked you. Very, very well done. I would like to congratulate you as well as Matt Gaetz and Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell. Y'all have all played yourselves to a significant degree, to the point where I have to ask, who raised y'all? If you got any suggestions for future nominees, go ahead and email me, or you can leave them in the comments.